6:38. And we'll start off with saying everyone is here. Cordial. William Alexander. And then we'll move right on. Does anyone have any additions, deletions, or corrections for this?
Mr. Chairman, we received indirectly from this group, a property owner, that I would like to have just a short discussion with.
Okay.
Recommend we add that to 7D.
Motion? Want to second that, Dick?
Sure.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, why does everybody, does anybody need to make three corrections to this? Aye.
Aye. Second was.
I think we might.
Oh,
Actually,
sorry.
I just purchased the old Columbine.
Didn't state your, yeah, to the podium.
So my name.
Nice.
Well, thank you. It's nice to be here.
Going
Mystery.
Tim had a successful travel business. Used to have his offices down the old El Pueblo building. Wow.
Yeah.
Across the street at the old fish market. Yeah.
Yep.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Good.
I digress.
Anyway, I to come and say hello. We're meeting it, so it's not an eyesore. I've been hopefully generating some revenue for everyone. We're going to continue doing what it has been, fix and repair, get some paint on it so that it's as terrible as it does, and get some of the rotting decks fit and open, and then down the road we hope to do a number of things with it. Work more like they'll fit in here. Work a bit more. I think that'll be hopefully next year if all goes well. This year. This year we're just going to try to get it looking nice and a functioning part of the community.
Yeah. Great idea.
Side of the building for the board, or the commissioners, and that would include,
Decks, etc.
Yes, it has to come, not for plant, but we, for setback, we still have to get a building permit.
Correct. So that's.
Doesn't need a permit.
Yes.
well, the
it's
building
going
right
up.
next to them, they just replaced their deck and for them to come.
But they changed it.
They did change the footprint of that deck, though.
Yeah, they did.
If you repair a deck, and you're gonna replace any trades or the steps, building permit.
Correct.
Okay, they just replacing planks. Okay.
Not a big
Well,
deal.
You can open without the deck, correct? You
I
could open without the deck.
I don't know.
Well, I don't know, but if they're on a time, yeah.
All right, great.
That was a question.
Yeah.
Any other questions you guys have?
Now we're excited.
It is.
I've heard that. This fall, we'll be operating tours. Just one person can spend the night there by themselves. It'll be a very.
Maybe you can make the travel channels happen. Welcome, Sharon.
Someone else has public input.
May have been good.
We said, just use a public.
We'll call a public hearing, open a public hearing at 6:47. You bet. State's call.
Oh, thank you.
New letters. Are new, I think.
Pardon me?
The letters are new.
Sent for and to a better.
Yes.
Is Wanda here? Is she not?
Okay. Mr. State's call, was proposed R1, and that there are 2 residences on the parcel. And R2 would be the
Tax. And a prior owner about years ago had subdivided it. I'm not quite sure how it got passed, but they put it into lots, 2 tax schedule numbers. Purchased the property about 15 years ago. Had that back to a single family, and the lot line was vacated at that point.
But the question is, what do you want to do with the property?
Just, well, I'm looking to try to sell the property ultimately, and going proper on one property, which would say at R2 rather than R1.
Over here, there would be, I don't have it in my book, so I didn't get it. If I recall correctly, then this would go before trustees, and then it's a rezoning. And public, yeah.
Until we-
Make a motion to approve petition, and then that goes forward to Board of Trustees.
Okay, so the board of trustees, and then reschedule.
My understanding is, I'm not sure that it would be, they would schedule the 3rd.
I did not know. About on how to go.
Yeah, it just seems,
It is a
public
long
hearing.
process, and we are actually trying to improve our code,
Sure.
so we don't have this going on. You know.
No, I
so
understand
people
going to
have-
board of trustees, that makes sense.
Well,
Yeah.
right now, there's a
The public hearing could be, is this coming Tuesday, which is May 5th.
Okay.
The longest will be the meeting in June, because
The
days
15
between
days, yeah.
the 2 meetings. The first is this Tuesday.
Okay.
The board will probably want to make you.
Right, sure, understand.
Yeah.
So the June
Thank you.
comments.
Mr. Chairman,
We close.
it appears that the findings, the standards for special uses would probably apply to this. So I propose findings. The petition conforms to the requirements of the zoning ordinance, sections of the master. Neighboring land uses are contemplated. Use will not result in an overly detrimental to public health, safety, and welfare. If the planning commission agrees with those findings, then I'm ready to make a motion.
I'm good with it. Yeah. I see no reason not to approve it.
I move that the rezoning to the Board of Trustees for approval. Second that.
Any further discussions? All by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Who seconded it? Okay, good.
We were given instructions by the town attorney to make a determination as to whether or not operating a distillery would be a special use, not detrimental to the development of the surrounding areas. We were told not to give consideration to the use of donkey, that strictly the operations of a distillery were our consideration. And so that's what we're here to evaluate tonight. So,
Chairman, may I elaborate, and will be not many opportunities to comment on whether or not donkey or not. But tonight, this is simply what stated, that it's whether or not the zoning is correct. So at a future board meeting and possibly at another planning commission meeting, we will have time for public comment on the donkey. But again, the task is to figure out the zoning stuff tonight. Thank you.
We live directly behind the property of the Black Bear Distillery. My husband is Nick Hasenauer. He is working tonight, so I'm here than what us residents on Hotel Street can expect from a distillery. All of the waste needs to be disposed of in our area. Speaking to professionals who own a laboratory in Teller County, they don't think that we will handle that type of load going to our septic system. That comes from distilling and fermenting.
Teller County, you talk to
Brewing Science Institute.
them.
I actually called the health inspector in Colorado Springs, and he's aware of the situation. He's going to be getting back to me.
Okay.
I
Megan?
would like to add to that, the health department stopped in today. So you're doing an out
That couldn't smell. And those breweries are directly over the Black Bear Distillery. This waste needs to be disposed of every. You have to clean it up. It has to be a completely sterile environment. And you will have to be cleaning tools and buckets. There will be noise, I'm sure. Would be, I'm not sure how many tanks that they're proposing. At Beer Works. I'm arrested and I want to point out that Mr. Matthews typed up of this, which is fraudulent information. My husband and I personally told him 3 times, we are not interested in approving this. He has handed out information that is fraudulent using our name and our neighbor's name in the cul-de-sac, saying that this is approved. To zero waste and smell. And as I previously stated, there will be an unpleasant smell that will be going on, that I have an issue with the donkeys as well that I will address when you guys decide to have as well. I'd also like to point out that he says that there will never be any disturbance for anyone, that providing action to business, not an attraction for people to come look. It kind of makes it sound a bit like a circus. And there was complete false information. And some told the landlord of the place, Mr. and Mrs. Zide, who is Kelly, who's the house. And she's meeting tonight. He as well, someone who actually owns that property, which on this document he stated was himself, Matthews, when it's actually Kelly and Lyle who own the property at 6855 Hotel Street. Another issue I have is the in our cul-de-sac. We have spent years of time and money remodeling our houses, making nice outdoor this that going on. So that's really all I have to say about that. I do have more questions, but
I think it might be more efficient if you hear all the input first and then Just a suggestion.
I don't remember.
If you want. What do you?
Is there anyone else who wishes from the audience?
Or allow Victor to speak.
Keep it short and sweet. My name is Dan, Victor's neighbor, Colsack. And I really wish Victor well. 68 Hotel Street. Like I said, I wish success in the world with this distillery, but my only concern is that, besides the donkeys, which is another issue, is that it could negatively affect my property. 68.
68, 65, okay. I'm trying to catch up to you.
What's your last name?
I'm adjacent to Victor. Adjacent to the Black Bear.
So this isn't on this.
No, yeah.
Being an adjoining neighbor. 68,
But it's pretty short and sweet, is that my only concern is that if the distillery comes in, it could affect our property value negatively. If that's the case, if it can be shown that it won't affect our property value negatively, then I might be willing to sign off on it. Like I said, the donkey issue. That's it.
Yes, Bill?
I'm Joan Compton, and I don't live in the cul-de-sac, but I'm in the front of the cul-de-sac on Hotel Street. I'm 68C. There's three of us in the front are ABC from the fire department. Okay. As far as the distillery and, having the discussion happen was, I, and he did talk about the distillery, and I said, well, good idea, maybe not, maybe so, but I did the rest of the information about it. Knowing that there might be some odors of very specific dust or something in the air, and as we know, it's very windy here. Husband is a lot of smoke, cannot keep it out of the house. So I have a real concern of that effect. Helen and Carl, 68.
Okay, what we ever want to do in this town is to deny somebody the right to make money. That's what I'm all about. There are issues. The town has to, issues. Obviously, there's some questions about how he is going to run his business. I've known him for 7 years in his papers. See it as a success, but I have a feeling that there's some issues that I don't know if that's what's in question tonight, but that letters of approval or letters from the to the streets away. There's 3 houses separated from theirs, so problem, but Jeff Matthews asked the town and make his stand and show that there's no effect. Allergy problems, no septic system. Is the approval, not approval?
2 of them back, you have them in your packets.
How many letters sent out? Sorry,
10.
2 sent back.
Oh,
Because they couldn't be here tonight.
Okay. We got
They
your
sent the
letter.
letter. I have mine.
They didn't, one way or the other.
well, they put a star, on the post. Yeah. They listed a star in it with the questions.
Okay. And he was, all he said to me was that it has nothing to do with the Board of Health. it's ABC, ATF, all that, then it becomes a witch hunt, that Mr. can't do his business. What's gonna happen, be just like any other conditional use or special use permit, that he has to be proved that he has all the intention, smell, I mean, the odor, the urine odor, the allergens,
Yeah.
the
Just donkeys tonight, I'm sorry.
well, that's the problem, Dick, and I think that's the politics over. What is the problem?
Zoning, we're gonna discuss zoning and land use tonight.
Well, let's get on.
A gentleman in the department did stop in, who's Mike McCarthy. He did stop, he evaluated by a professional engineer, change in use. Which, we've already talked about that, said that it's gonna be a lot less on the septic system. Recommended that we did that from a professional. You know, we get an engineer to come in and, or get an engineer to come in. At this time, whatever regulatory entity / authority that will be over distillery in compliance with that authority. And he wasn't sure if it was the FTA or there was the other one, sure that he was in
Yes, that was here.
What?
Sorry, we have unauthorized site comes. Thanks for the information.
So when you, just for someone who used to own a bar, just no one else overseeing the bar. Town was,
The town represents the state through the ABC.
right,
So the town is the immediate overseer of drinking, I believe, the distillation. Yeah, because I believe that is a federal level, it's not on the state.
That's the next, yeah.
Victor? Please.
Okay.
Visitations that were initial visitation with you, initial visitation with John was positive, initial visitation with everyone was positive. It was after the questions began to arise, which I have no problem with questions at all. That information, you know, if I recreated that paperwork again, because it's been long since squashed by this body and the board, it would have misled and think I was misrepresenting you and I was being deceptive, which has never been my intention. I've been in front of this board, and if this doesn't work out, it's going to be very sad, but if it doesn't work out, I don't stop. I mean, I keep doing business and doing things. Be very sad. So answering some questions and concerns. First of all, out that we're talking about a place that was a restaurant for 50 years. A restaurant, in other words, we generated huge amounts. So the majority of the concerns, and I understand them because people don't understand exactly the process or what I'm doing or what it would be or whatever. I get it. I understand why there's questions and I'm wide open answering questions. But the idea that it'll be something worse than a restaurant is not the case. A restaurant was for 50 years generated trash cans and giant dumpsters full of food waste and grease and sauteed food and sand on the grills pumping into the air every night. So this is what it is a massive, massive improvement. And that's the truth. Now, could I be making that up? Well, yeah, that's exactly why you guys are involved. It's exactly why I have a special use permit. It's exactly why it's annual. It's exactly why I have to pay fees and be inspected. And if a year from now, if I fully am subjugated to it. But the bottom line is, a septic system built for hundreds of people a day is going to deal with almost no people. People talk about traffic, we're gonna go from 30, 40 parking places. We're gonna go from a restaurant open breakfast, lunch, and dinner forever to a couple weekend visitors taking tours of the distillery. If I had 6 brewery tanks, she's exactly right. That's a lot of business, that's a lot of brewing, that's a lot of smells, that's a lot of everything. We're gonna have a couple small ones, the volume here is so small in comparison to something like that. We're not a big volume. Now, there can't be a big volume, the place itself is not capable of producing a large volume. What happens to the waste from the products? Well, that's one of the drain systems that we have at plant. That spent grain, that goes to farmers. What goes down the drain? Some water from the process. So the process is you take some grain, you cook the grain. We're only capable of doing 40 gallons. There's tanks 600 gallons at these places. 6 multiple 100 gallons. I understand that would be a huge deal. We're talking about a 40-gallon system, a 400-gallon total possible output. I mean, you get out of that 10%. So this is not compared to running a dishwasher all night. Customers going to the bathroom. The last thing on earth I want to do is cause any kind of like allergic reaction or trouble. And I know why that might enter someone's mind. And grains and threshing it out and barley. This would be a bear. But this barley comes in sacks as a pearl barley. It's done. Well, all I can do is go and talk to the neighbors. Well, you know, once we're up in, once we're up in, every single person around me is going to go, oh, okay, nothing, because it didn't. This used to be a restaurant where I used to fry things all day. It was a huge output from the hood, and the hood's on the back side of the building. The cul-de-sac. I mean, and this has been a restaurant for 50 years. I'm guessing that it's going to be a very positive thing. What if it isn't? What if something? What if John says we're going to have allergies from this? I guess I'll figure out how. It shouldn't occur like that. We're talking about pearl barley or dried corn. There shouldn't be any chafe, any kind of thing that causes it. Which means that it's 100 times more efficient than most of this have. Distilleries are in shopping malls. Why? What's the property ovens? 500 saute pans in the 300 to 400 degree range. If I break 200 degrees with a still, my product's ruined. You understand? So I take a cooked grain and then I ferment it, and we're doing small volumes, so we're not talking about a huge amount of a problem. I even have a hood, holes and filters just like it would for a restaurant, which distilleries don't have. They don't install them. They're extra. It's an extra step of filtration and cleanliness. But then I take that product, which is running 5 or 10 or 12, whatever % in a still. If I boil it at 212 degrees, what water boils at? The water still, the product is ruined. Alcohol is 174, not 200. Therefore, I have to run this in boiling water. The temperatures function at are lower than boiling water. If I break that limit, then I'm ruined.
We do actually have a distillery on premise.
Still itself? Yeah. It's small. I mean, it's not any monstrosity. Still, it's been questions asked to me, and I don't mind. But somebody says something about mold or rodents or something like that, and I said, if I had something like that, I would. If I get mold or something like that happening, it's over. That destroys the product. Involved if there was something going on with rodents compared to a restaurant, compared to full of piles of vegetables lighter than that. Yes, ma'am.
Victor, 13. And in a half of those years, the restaurant has not even been open and running.
That's
When we
totally
first
not true.
Yes, it is.
I've owned this restaurant 16 years.
Yeah, and I've worked in that town for 10 years, and I know what happened the same with Deb and Chuck. And that was a year and a half after we lived there that you closed, and you've not been open except for parties and special events.
That's not true. The last day of business was our 15th and 14th, and we were open every single week prior to that. That was a big party. Open as a restaurant. We've been open for regular business and parties. We've been open every week for 15 years. I've owned the thing since 19 years. We closed down on our 15th anniversary. The very next day, we started cleaning out to become a distillery. It's been
That it hasn't been a restaurant. There's been no activity.
party like the year
Yeah.
restaurant.
And when we did move in, we did.
But I don't know what else to say. It's
Okay, what are we deciding tonight? I mean, what are you expecting?
Is to approve, to recommend, or not recommend that a distillery be a special use in that zone.
All the neighbors have a legitimate right, complaint, whatever you want to call it. Chef Matt saying what his, so where do we stand now? I mean, he can keep talking till he's blue in the face. Joni and me, I could complain about all night long about I want my apartment people, my guests, my let's not mention the word donkey. So we got
A couple questions.
Yes, sir.
Have you used this enough to know whether or not odors are a real possibility as a result of this operation?
Absolutely. Okay, so research-wise, not only part of the Distillers Guild of Colorado, craft distiller, so I've visited a great deal on the plans to visit every single. I did that as part of research. I wrote a book, and as part of that, being and from the angle of a bar, or from the angle of having a bourbon bar, but turned of the distillation and everything involved. Are there odors involved in this process? Are they? So yesterday, well, maybe the day before yesterday, and airspace, and we're going through the different mashes and what about 20 barrels of his mash work, and these are fermentation. The only chance for odors is during fermentation. The cooking process of the still is all self-contained, so there's no odor there, and there's cooking the actual product in the first place. Very similar to making grits or oatmeal. You're just cooking grains. So this is no different, except dramatically less than cooking food. But it's just like a cooking oatmeal or cooking grits. So there's no odor there that's significant, and there's no odor in the distillation process. The only odor that comes is the fermentation. Now, something like large volumes like beer, significantly bigger deal. Standing there, this group of 20 drums, and we're going through the different processes. To get any significant smell from that, lean in to it, anything significant whatsoever. What would I do? Well, I would figure something out. If someone said, no, man, this thing is crazy, I don't want that. I don't want a problem. I don't want a problem with, I don't want some weird smells or whatever. I'll solve the problem. How could I solve the problem? Well, I could change the volume. I could put on lids with airlocks on. I could change my method. There's actually a water airlock you can put on top. So if I switched from ferment vats to control all this, it's not as effective for the flavor, but I would do that if I needed to solve the problem. Get there, truck it away, ferment it somewhere else, truck it back and distill it. So I've got multiple options. If it were to be a to the best of my knowledge, at the volume we're at, virtually. But if
In your research of the various distilleries, have you come across or are you aware of viable technology for scrubbing those odors? Is there a viable means, and if it is odors that neighbors find objectionable, is there a reason?
create new odor, or then we could switch systems into 50 gallon and in the middle of 20 of those and not smell anything.
So if Plan A doesn't
Property. In other words, I could ferment it, let's say Paradox. I cook it in my, I put it into, I take it there and ferment it for several, bring the fermented product back and load distill. A lot of extra work, probably not going to be necessary, but that would be. 5 or 6 feet in diameter, 10 feet tall. It sits in the kitchen, and the same size, 400 gallon size for the cooker.
Is that your only business? Is that your only, just you have other, outs?
Very old, it's been over 50 years, and we had, the way this all occurred was during the floods. People stopped coming up. We had a really good business, especially from 2000 to 07. It was just jam-packed. 08, 09 was okay, but once we had the fire, we lost the summer, and then they started closing the pass with all the following the summer. So this all started in March of 13, and of course they started closing the pass again, started running the pass or coming from used to get customers from. They're afraid of getting caught up here or whatever. So I tried to figure out an option. I've been wrote the book on bourbon, and I knew about distillation. We thought it was really a cool up and coming business. Let's do this. First thing I did is go to the town. It was the previous regime. I went to this. They had the fire guys talking to me. Everybody talked to me. Several calls, and then the town decided, the town clerk or whatever, decided that it was stuff, and it was proceeded to fill out the paperwork necessary for the TTB. That's the actual organization. It's called the T. And of course, there's a state level wholesale license at bar.
So what licensing do you have now?
So the licensing level is a wholesale license and a distiller license on the state level. Federal license with the TTB, and it's the paperwork involved on your taxes every month. It's
You have all that in.
long-term process, took an entire year to do, and so we're highly.
So Victor,
Go ahead.
so it's possible to bring donkeys in the parking lot, is
Absolutely.
okay?
Okay, that's what we want.
Yeah, this donkey thing, I gotta it's clear. Everybody says, okay, distillery cool, donkeys bad. Okay, what's the point of the donkeys? The point of the donkeys is, first of all, let's not talk about donkeys.
Donkeys right now, done a lot of research, and you research how many
You
of
have to
them
understand,
exist
it's
in
not
residential areas. Do you know on how many of the distilleries, or how many distilleries are out there exist in areas?
That's space, industrial warehouse space is a lot easier. You can bring in all the big you want to do, and if you plan on getting very big. For instance, Distillery 2, the first distillery that started in this region, was started in the basement of a hair salon, residential neighborhood, downstairs in a hair salon. So not only did he have in a room, this room, the whole distillery, every single barrel aging, everything that could, one window. He had no problem upstairs in the building. Became very successful and moved next door to Groveberry, Bristol property. But this whole distillery operated for the entire first 3 years in the basement of a house in a residential neighborhood. He started off with it's like 100, 120, and now, neighborhood, build on to it. They built on a giant area for storage to that original. Became #1 in the state, had no problem at all. Other ones in large areas, of course, and a lot of them are, but side in a shoe shop, the side in a shopping mall. It really, it sounds crazy about distilleries because you think about Kentucky and these giant factories with all these small volume craft distilleries. There's not that much.
Yeah, we've traveled quite a bit. We've been to a number of distilleries. Not like we just go find them, but we've gone to Mexico. We've been to a tequila distillery. I didn't notice a lot of smell. We were up in Watkins Glen. We went to a vodka distillery. Didn't notice a lot of smell. I like the idea of it, but I am concerned with the smells. I think sometimes people. So I'm in favor. I like the idea of the distillery, but I do have with the smell. If those are all addressed, say that
Ryan.
Ronnie Scott.
Ryan,
Ron.
RONNIE.
Ronnie.
What's your social
For the
security
record,
number
for the record. April 16, Ron, you drive cars.
You need to be careful about exaggerating when you're talking about this, because I've been going to the Red Creek Distillery since they opened. And they're not in an exclusive neighborhood.
Well,
In any way, shape, or form.
okay,
They're
well, I
in
call that
so,
exclusive.
like, they have some apartments beside them, and industrial places down the street, but it is not an exclusive neighborhood.
I think it's exclusive. I think everything's recreational, but that's.
Victor, well, continuing on the odor, how many containers will you have for the,
And the next one, you're pulling one out to this, you pull, process it. So there's 3, those cypress distillate. Now, if we have to change that, it would be a whole bunch of.
so from that?
And you net about 40 gallons out of the process, which of course you have, which makes, so you're netting a barrel.
Bigger than our hot
So it's pretty, I mean, they're gonna be, 5 or 6 feet wide, about 5 or 6 feet. 400 gallons is, on it. But
I'd like to ask a previous input.
Yes, sir.
Still Park, what was the distillery?
Beer Works Brewery. Actually,
Brewery.
yeah,
Okay,
So-
educate me, what's the
That's
brewery?
beer.
beer and
Okay, so it was a
you
beer.
still collect all off the top of the
Is it say that beer making different odor than hard liquor?
be a different odor. In the process of that, of course, because they're using different products. But he will product outside about, which is milling the mash.
Oh.
I didn't say anyway, very strong smell. The milling odor. So if we're talking about, or if you can do this business, the other thing in this, I mean, these tanks you're talking about now are the size of our hot tub beside driving by and smelling a hamburger. This is a completely different yeasty, barley smell.
So we really don't know if Victor can control the smell to a certain.
This whole thing, everybody here is in business. Everybody, restaurateur, and been in the restaurant business most of our life. Had this. We all want Chef Matthews to succeed. What I want to know is that we're protected. And to do just like you do with every other planning commission. Approval, if you want to, let's approve it with contingency. And do his, go from there. Regardless of that will be spoken. Everybody is saying here, we're concerned, I'm concerned. I don't want odor, I don't want allergens, I don't want, but let's get this thing going and start.
Can the board say tonight that
These find that a distillery is a suitable business.
okay, so you
And
can't
the
answer
board-
that.
The board of trustees is the ones who would say, you can do it, or you can't do it.
And the board of trustees are the ones within a year? Is that, am I
Right,
correct?
they're
They
the ones
have
that
to
would
revisit.
put-
Yearly.
And the liquor, and, or we can say,
Doctor is.
well, I'm just saying, I just want to ask now, within a
Right,
year,
it could be less than a year. I mean, it could be
okay,
whatever the
I
board
guess you
decides.
can use and
Exactly.
okay,
So,
So
but
it's
this
special
meeting
use permit
tonight
means that
is
we do it all the
not,
time. They
okay.
can pull it whenever.
So, I mean,
yes.
That's where you're.
Right.
seems to me like as long as that can be revisited, as long as I know I can,
Not only, but aim, so that what I would suggest is, and then everybody goes, oh, nothing happened, or holy crap, this is crap, let's pull the permit. And do something else. I don't get it. I get the worries, I totally do. Favor, I might be worried if I looked at the things we generated before, this is not gonna be anything compared to that. Sit there, what's going on, like it's gonna be fine. And if it's not, then they can.
I think that we should look at making, we should be able to recommend this tonight, but with the conditions about the smell, the noise, and, Dustin and Campbell, what they can recommend. I mean, we can't address property values. There's no way we can say if your property values go down. Because if all this stuff is addressed,
well, good for me. I mean, I don't think it's something that Victor has to do. It's just something that I would feel comfortable with, is that if Victor knows of distilleries in residential areas, if those property values didn't go down with the distillery working in those areas, Victor were to open and revisit it, that's fine. As long as it can be shut down at that, it's fine. I don't want to affect it. It's probably not going to affect me. I'm probably not even going to know that he's distilling in there. And if that's the case, then I think that's great, and I'm for it. Well, house is down. That's it. Statistics or some kind of study that shows. I don't think that's something that Victor has to do, but that's kind of.
Is there any distilleries like yours close by where we could go by and?
Product special is the differences. So there's no distillery exactly like it. All this is because it's special. Probably not even ask any questions. Then I'm interested. And I can eliminate stuff, eliminate how small. I could go back to just buying bags of stuff and do it like everyone else. And go to Breckenridge, take a tour. Go to 291 and take a tour. His bar is those tanks. And there's no problem right here. All the engines are really close. Axe and the Oaks right over here on sort of Platt and Powers. I mean, real.
I think, Victor, if you happen to have a restaurant, the state-of-the-art septic system.
It's state of the art. It's like 3 or 4 chains. I mean, it's
But with that, will you be using it?
but only for the wastewater. Once we filter out the grains, so the grains go to farmers. The wastewater and any visitor using the bathroom. That's calculated as being a tenth of the impact we used to have. Yeah, so there's not a whole lot of waste. The grain that's ready to go, we grind it up. The grain, there's not going to be any threshing of grain or anything weird that's going to create any kind of clouds of anything. But it's pretty simple. And if we had to move it in a mechanical grinder, we could, but we're trying to do something that's sustainable and more and different. But you grind the grain, you put the grain, you cook the mash, you ferment the mash, and it's all done the same. Left with is water. You filter the spent grain goes to the farmers, the water, which is at that
That's what I want to know. How's it going to get to the farmer? Are you going to store it there?
No, I'll have to speak to all of my farmer friends and to figure out how we're going to move it. But it's an point it's been moved, so there's nothing related to that. But I would imagine if we had to, can't store it long because it's wet mash, but we would have to move it because we pulled it out and filtered it. So love it because it's a cooked grain
And there's
it's
not
to farm. But most of the people that do that, farmers come by and pick it up. The guys at Axon Oak have, and so there's a system for being built and brought here, which would be a really bad to have a distillery. But distilling with my friends. I work with Breckenridge, I work with Axon Oak, and we're not doing a whole, but we're permitted. We have the license now since June 30th to July 14. We've had the license to operate. So it's just been another year of not.
Do you have a physical place we could visit if we wanted to check out what's going on?
Yeah, you go. Axon Oak is got a system up and running. It's right here on Patent Plaza. Big one, very large distillery in operation, bigger than I'm going to be. You and see if they're creating anything weird. Visit Stranahan's, take a tour. Tours a huge operation. That's got like 1,200 gallon tanks, like a dozen of them. The place is crazy. You can go visit them and see. There's about 40, operational distilleries in the state. You can visit any one of them and let me know what you think. But I've been to almost all of them. At least there's not anything about it. And it's like I've been to breweries too, and they're much stronger. A lot more processing going on volume-wise. They're not distillation. They're doing the beer making. It's a little different. But
Everything sounds great. I guess it's only, we just want to make sure that we have recourse if there's a problem there. And
I do too.
This doesn't mean have a successful business without.
I'll be out there.
It would eliminate all of the ability to generate money and charity stuff for groups.
But you could have a distillery.
But we could have a distillery and operate without any of that happening. It wouldn't be unique or interesting, but yeah.
Okay.
Exercise class. People out there going to do.
Yes, we can hand grind. Like I said, if we put a water bill up or something, but I don't think that's very likely.
Close the public hearing?
Yeah. If there's no further new comments, thank you, Victor.
Everybody knows where I'm at. And ask me anything, anytime. I'll take it up, tours, whatever you want.
At the last meeting where the town attorney spoke to us, do you recall?
No. Plan commission. Just to not even discuss it.
Is this how for the neighbors?
Yeah.
That's the question that we have to answer.
Did you close the hearing?
It wasn't a public
It was
hearing.
public input. It wasn't a public hearing.
Well. Item is at the table
Yes.
at 8:02. To the table. I have a few prepared remarks. We're discussing land use. We were tasked by the board to take a look at where Victor's property is. And the word zoning was brought up. Is the current zoning of Victor's property. The fact that the Mountain Falls Land Use Code does not have special district in the code. It's my opinion that we should not pursue parking spaces that are adequate for the proposed land use. Setbacks are considered adequate for the proposed land use. So I'm ready to make a motion, but I will.
Addresses the concerns, odors that the motion should be addressed so that there is recourse.
Actually, as long as there's recourse for the concerns that people have mentioned. And as long as they're addressed, and as long as they can be addressed, to wait a year. A year is too long. Dealing with really bad allergies because of this, a year would be a really long time to wait.
Yeah.
So,
Matter is,
If you remember the animals, we said approval of use of these animals in town, by the Board of Trustees.
in redigesting the, before us is a suitable business that's not detrimental. I'm questioning whether it's our part to conditions. Is it suitable providing conditions?
and
Not
then
the planning commission.
I think it's the mayor's responsibility, the neighbors. We need
Withdraw my request for a condition. Is it,
Yeah, I want to look up one more thing. We are talking about moving to recommend a special use permit.
yes,
Under our code, we have to have findings,
yes.
so we should probably look at those before we. And I can't find my copy. Use for VRBO.
Yes.
Glasses on.
Bring your total.
Yeah.
Poor guy walked here. Uphill.
Yeah.
Okay,
Is it 705, 16705?
yeah.
You read it when you were here.
Oh, yeah,
There it is.
okay. Use standards governing approval or disapproval of petition use. All actions of planning commission or trustees shall be based upon standards of this land use code, including but not limited to the following. Number one, the petition conforms to the zoning ordinance, conforms to the requirements of the zoning ordinance. Number three, the use is consistent. We've been assured that these standards will be addressed by the petition. Therefore, I would like to move for the proposed distillery business 0435 Avenue and 10230 Mass Avenue. Understanding that the board attach conditions to their approval to allow
R2.
375 and 104.
that's two properties.
Okay.
But they're out, well, they're the same.
10375
Oh,
and 104.5 are the two.
104,
05.
and just say the Black Bear Restaurant
we could just say it had light beer.
and the Black Bear.
Would anybody like me to read?
I'll second it.
Okay. Thank you for coming. We learned a lot about distilleries.
Thank you.
And we had a chance to do the business. That's a big risk that he's taking. So I'm confident that Vic.
I think we want to make sure we're protected, that's all.
And this will be on the Board of Trustees meeting
When is that?
next Tuesday night. That's actually gonna start 7:30, because the workshop. So the board meeting's gonna be at 7:30.
What's gonna be on the agenda?
Won't be donkeys.
Donkey!
The donkeys may not,
It may not.
because the board may have to decide whether or not this should be here. Will be decided upon at the Tuesday.
Happened tonight.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, did we okay something that
You got
not knowing?
approval, the commissioners approved the use application to move forward, to go into the.
They recommend.
They approved recommending.
Yes.
Yeah.
application to change, alter, or modify premises.
Oh, from Mr. Stevens? No.
You guys have notes on why I'm here, just so after all these years.
Everybody else,
Mr. Stevens.
I'm gonna flip from the front. Is what I purchased.
Do you currently have a revocable permit?
Three of them I have.
So you have a revocable permit for the front of
A permit fee for each space. Now, one of them, of course, now has the valve. So I'm gonna have to address that later on, but yeah, there's 3 lots of the pantry property. And yes, I'd like to pin with what I mentioned in the papers you guys are having there. And I'm not gonna be doing dinner here and now, but I'm gonna hang out there, maybe a few special parties that might happen in the backyard.
Have you submitted a fence permit?
How tall is the fence?
It's gonna be two rails, 3 rails, it's gonna be.
Yes. To be able to serve out there, to anything, that's just something.
So the gate, where would,
It could be 3 gates. One of the rails come in the entry door, front door, and one on each for the side of the bones, and where you want to the parking area.
so people can go into the restaurant like they always do, I mean, just gonna be there like.
Areas to the front, of course, parking lot.
And it's like a fence, like,
It's just like going around the lake,
right,
2 split rails.
It would be,
And
I think, would be more sturdy than what was like. But,
Right.
And the gate, when you say gate, access to people to not have the way to access to the next post. So maybe that's what we need.
is that a separate room?
What are you asking for tonight? Letter here. I said I'd like to fence in an area.
well, I guess this is for the fence, more or less, for the fence and just to let give me the approval to go to the and get my, it's actually the premises have to be extended
Yes,
20 foot.
that's the board acting as the local liquor authority.
Yes.
That's a separate action.
I think that was, I don't know, I was told to come here for.
We don't.
The fence.
The fence. So, I would
Actually, like, additional use in front of the restaurant
it's already got.
in order to serve alcohol. So that, at least I had to come before you for to do.
What is it again? Do you think that's?
So it was a conditional use to serve, an extent, to serve alcohol on the ground that belonged to the city. Basically, it was kind of did for Victor.
I'm sorry, we don't have anything about alcohol in the land use.
I insure that property.
Except retail liquor sales, like liquor. There,
Approve the special use.
I mean, you can put it in a motion.
You know, actually, the original, I think, would have been entailed that part of the property.
Yeah.
The town clerk wrote in not to be at this property, the front of the property, for some reason. And so I never had questioned it, I just didn't serve it.
So Ben, the 7 feet of concrete front, and then your little of the land out in front of that.
Yes, sir.
Do you know how far out that?
It's approximately, feet, and the lots are 25 foot wide, so it'd be 15 by 75.
So you're looking to go out.
To go for permit.
Anywhere past, sir, on the tables.
Yeah.
Sir, you know.
The tables exist. Yeah, it's for
The
15 years.
existing areas changing, you do that, it's just
Okay.
whether somebody.
I'm just in front of the concrete pad.
Yes, sir. It is already. Yeah, it's there from.
That's why yours was different.
That's why mine was different, because mine was just.
Right. Right,
In the lower right hand corner, control.
right,
To improve.
like maybe.
Situation in the front of my entryway to my dinner venue. We'll see how that goes, like, and that kind of stuff. That's why I'm trying to make up for some of the loss in the backyard, maybe in the front. That's what it's all about. I don't want to do dinner back there any longer. I have some crazy neighbors myself.
And I don't understand the reason for these posts on the north side of the valve control. It's gonna be a fence there.
Yeah, I'm just as laid it out just so I could see what was going on. I wasn't sure if it was date with the fence coming in. I'm not gonna build mine.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the land of the.
Just a 8 by 11. It works for the valves above ground, the valves themselves, of course, for ground.
I guess my initial concern, putting posts outside of that.
No, I don't want to do any more post holes in my house.
Just think, take a mimosa for breakfast.
Well, and that, I mean,
I beach overlooking the lake.
Mayor, are you familiar with that right now, but by the fence around the valve control going to be access?
I understand there's gonna be 2 accesses, one on the parking lot side and another gate on the inside. Because, yeah, that's, you know, that's.
but your fence isn't thought out.
No, mine won't be,
Yeah,
mine won't have
yours
anything.
is just gonna be the.
This will be the corner of that fenced area, will be,
Your fence
will stop right
in
there.
theory would jump
To it.
fence.
Actually, I'm gonna stop where I parked my pantry. Ford truck, I sit out there. I'll probably stop right there. And then leave that open all the way to the, and then we'll pick up at the other side of the proposed fence for the valley. And go from there to the building. Make it a little stronger.
Is he gonna add any more tables out there?
No, actually, there's,
There's not.
and maybe at a later meeting, like if I discuss the broken up and everything. And then I can spread out. That's like what's really tricky.
Right, unless with your truck, because your truck seems so far away.
Yeah, well, there's no seating over there. I don't use that the third lot I don't use for seating. Wait for the backyard.
Okay. But that fence will go.
Yeah, I gotta.
Okay, you're saying now, because the gate.
Oh, I see.
There's a
Okay.
rail.
And, Mr. I believe in phase 2, that's actually a driveway that's gonna come along. My fence, it gets fenced between our properties. That'll be a driveway to his back. That's in their phase 2 proposal, there's something slowed down a little. I just painted those sidewalks, by the way, the lip on those sidewalks orange. These people will fall off.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
We can do anything yet tonight without the application, but Mary, can you get us a local permit so we can see if there are any conditions imposed on that? Just email that to us.
Maybe we can email them a copy.
Mr. Mayor, I have a motion. I move that approves of the concept of a fence around the expanded alcohol serving area. Will submit a fence request.
Of course. I probably known it up front, I would have already, should have, you know.
I should see what the permit says, since we're both with the permit. If there were conditions on it.
Yeah,
Want a second condition that
We
provides
want to see the,
permit to see if
and
there's
the permit in the.
any conditions, restrictions. In reality, it doesn't slow anything down in that, you know, if unforeseen at the next meeting to Mary, we get it on the agenda.
You could do that without.
you don't have to go before the board if it was.
Would run the board.
But that's gonna have to be a public hearing, isn't
Expansion of liquor license, is that what?
Yeah, I understand.
it? To serve liquors.
Yeah.
It's a modification.
Shouldn't be.
The form's in there already, on top of the state, and got everything together.
But we're probably gonna have to have a public hearing. Which would. Alright, so, yeah, hopefully the.
I can still serve food out there.
Right.
One day I'll be able to say, hey, you want everything?
Exactly.
Okay, and that's okay. Get open this summer, means I am
June 2nd, probably. Here.
June session.
June 2nd is probably here, if you can serve drinks.
Yeah.
That'll be okay.
I'll remember that one.
I don't think. License in a little town. Oh.
You bet, wow.
It's the. In town.
Okay, so I need to get a fence permit.
Station, so we could start looking at the liquor stuff. Or not.
Well, probably, yeah, and then you can order at that meeting.
A public hearing, yeah. So,
Okay.
Or we can go ahead, we don't have to wait for all this fence stuff to be able to go ahead and get the premises. Because the state doesn't even require that, you know. Is that what you're saying?
well,
Tuesday, 7:30, I come to this other,
to ask about the,
I propose another extension to that.
right,
As far as the, like, went from her,
Right.
I'll
So-
go back to her. And
yeah. But I wouldn't start construction, it's, you know,
Can't construct it
but they're working together.
Yes.
Is what, you know. Cool, thank you, how exciting.
All right, approval of minutes.
Oh, I see.
Is there a deck on there now?
There is.
Is it public deck?
Yes, it's almost complete now.
Yeah. Hanging by the thread.
Yeah. It's
Kinda
nice to
necessary,
be
yeah.
start working on it.
Right, I'm learning. That's awesome. Cool. I think this looks
It's about the same size. It's gonna be, we're using all the best products that we, it's actually a composite deck that actually looks cheap wood. So it has like, I think 17 different colors in the wood to make it look like realistic wood. We're also doing powder coat.
3 houses so far that he's just
That's
made
cool.
into little dream houses.
I think it looks great.
So the rails?
Those will be the actual power, wrought iron railings,
Gotcha.
and then the lateral, the composite material, and then the railing on top, the handrail itself will be composite as well. And that will just be gray in color. And it will be actually a two-tone decking. We'll have the teak wood, which is did by line. Will be really attractive.
The vertical or powder coat color?
They're totally
Neutral.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
I made the motion.
Can I make the recommendation that we change the motion to approve as submitted?
I wanted to keep it short.
That's how it's going.
Goes back.
So there's a
All those in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? This on the plan, yeah, because you probably need, if they give you a permit, or do you need to go back with?
I have to go back with your stamp and then they'll get a permit. Trying to think, somebody's got, the original one is a thick piece of paper.
I think mine are perfect.
That composite.
Plastic.
It's recycled plastic.
It is.
So it's so close. I've seen it in action. It's very well. They have it in the whole thing. You look really good. Probably. Hopefully that's the case anyways. Very strong. You know, the blend that you do, grades, a lot of them is molded type of decking that actually is kind of meant to eliminate any sagging materials, type of molded type of material. But the way that they're government now, there's not used to be too, what I guess, start.
Are you next?
I hope.
Okay.
We haven't eaten yet.
Oh, my goodness. So you're the Hondo property?
Yes.
Okay.
Awesome.
Okay. Yes. You get credit.
Okay.
You can get full credit for staying.
Yeah, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. For sure.
You just have to come on a really busy night.
Yes, I guess, distillery business. Our request, I'm Richard, 4 of the smaller walls, and we were gonna rebuild those 4 walls, approach the stairs, and then, was also badly deteriorated. So these are just hand-drawn, drawings. I wish I had something nicer. We were just planning to come up and do these things, but then it came to our attention that we needed to get a permit. So, therefore, I just, was told just to do some, basic of our plan. The 4 walls, we're going to rebuild, of course, to code, we'll get a permit. Hopefully, after we get a permit, and they'll all be done to code, and there'll be a vast besides being rotten, and it's just the structure is an older structure, probably cedar, and flooring. Electrician who's agreed to do it, and then at the same time, the main breaker panel is very old.
limited, and we were going to go back and then a service at the same time. And, as I said, we contacted an electrician. They're called Woodland Electric. They were recommended by a plumber. So, who was going to electrical. I'm doing the basic framings in this step myself.
And where can you tip? Oh, okay.
Denton, Texas.
Oh, Denton. It's my own.
I'm hoping to become, I'm hoping to become more of at least a half-time resident up here. I'm really hoping for that. My wife's a little resistant, but that's my
Oh, well, I would love to talk with her, because 18
Well,
years
good.
ago, I moved.
There's a number on it?
There's problems with the numbers. If that's what you're referring to, there's a contradiction.
It says the address is 11035.
Evidently, we've been under a false impression for many years. We had the same number on our house. And until we, asking for a permit, and then it was looked into, and then also at the appraisal district, we discovered that's not the address. The one we thought was these many twins is actually incorrect.
Your neighbor next door, Margaret Smith, actually 11035. So I would recommend that you remove
As a matter of fact,
the 45 years.
delusion. It shows how we can, things are not always as we think.
If there's any concern about
Setbacks, because he's not changing,
the
It's not
footprint.
changing
he's
the
not
footprint.
changing the footprint, you don't have to, because this is
No,
more
strictly the plan.
strictly,
Architectural,
well, there isn't much.
Already there, but architecturally, visually, it's the same.
Is it, are you down from,
The wall panels,
okay,
so they're not visual, they're not visible from the road. They were just going,
I live up in Hondo place all the time. It appeared to me that some of your workmen were doing some work on the roof. Permit also. Okay. As well as you're aware.
I guess my concern standpoint, if you approve the plan color of the siding, there's no reference to restoring it to original condition on here, other than walls. You know, if regional.
I took regional first.
Okay.
And regional said Green Mountain is one of the few communities where you have to go to them first.
Correct.
And they looked at these plans and they said, this is all you need, this is fine. Basically, they just kind of repairing a few water damage, replacing them with rotten, 2x4s, with new 2x4s. And then the few, we were informed that to do permit so we can rebuild the walls to protect the side of the cabin.
But it sounds like that it'll look
You know what,
similar to
very similar, similar, new, similar. And, it's, going to, the siding will be repainted the same color. The front deck will be a vast improvement. It looks pretty bad, so definitely it'll be an improvement.
So where is that image?
The deck on that front image, it's address written down at the bottom.
Yep.
Facing that's actually where that's written.
So are you doing work on the deck?
The other deck draw little series of the first three I. But, they're not drawing. Certainly, we're just trying to keep the family cabin intact so it doesn't, have any damage to try to prevent it from getting worse.
Sir, did you bring this to regional
Yes.
and they saw this? I was wondering if it's just this, he's.
Yeah, I did. And probably when I go there, they're going to walk me through more specific of ringer, what size pier holes.
So I would make a motion to approve it, that on the plans that for us, that you'll keep the outside approximately the same.
Absolutely.
Yes. I'd like to add discussion.
Or that's a second. Well, that, I think was a second.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, I think there was.
I have this, but that's okay. I'll say.
All those in favor, vote by saying aye.
Go to dinner now. Yes, thank you for waiting. Well,
Thank you so much.
guys, and hey, sweetheart,
There's,
do you go to school?
Their appearances stay the same.
Have you heard? No, you don't go to Sparta Elementary? Okay, that's where I did my student. How's they on? Two schools.
Your school is very close to, it's called community scripture.
Is that right? It's a cat. A summer home, right?
You could write the same on that other copy there.
This one?
Yeah, that's for art.
I can't wait to. We met driving school buses. So that. We got married. I posted West Barn parking lot.
So what do you want to do?
Yeah, I tried to call you. But once you go there, I'm going to actually.
You're on TV, right? You're on TV.
Hey.
His wares. It's not anything go up there with just like fireworks.
I'm done with the distillery, right?
We've been trying to do that, we always forget it.
Supplemental or additional or any
Oh,
further
good, I'm
information.
glad.
Well, we were also trying to grant.
Like, well, then, maybe,
How long it was.
somebody
That's not a need.
But I guess it's a show of surprise.
You know, the state.
I have made so just as true about this. It'll be much more than cost about 2,000.
Yeah.
It probably too much to get straight.
He did.
Between 8 and 12.
Okay.
Now, we
That's
Peter Popus, Popescu. Popescu.
Thank you,
Sir,
sir.
Popescu. Yeah.
That is in your board yet.
Popescu. Yeah, Popescu.
You're good.
Or we just say,
Oh.
It was paid.
Last week it was.
we need to go for this.
It's collected.
Regional, yeah.
It's like that. There you go.
Thank you.
He wrote some pretty pictures of you have. I wouldn't go in that cave. You know how water is, seeped in the air? Yeah, no.
Let's not do the same things with education. We need to go. So the impact of the
So, hold up, one minute.
Yes,
So there is a, okay, on the telephone, we or
that they collect for you, but,
that's
either
the
way,
use
it's
tax.
They use tax.
Okay, sure.
Mr. Fairley knew it. So that's what he did.
Yeah, the ladies.
We're going tomorrow. Well, we did.
We'll see. We'll see. Yeah. But you just might. But then I said, I have this up there. The party room, once this thing is done, I'll be on the agenda drinking. Thank you so much. Was that all the way out?
Commissioners?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we have chess, I believe. Did everybody get an email? Yes. Okay. At the 2014 planning commission meeting, we addressed this. And,
When did we address it?
October 14th, 2014 planning commission.
Okay.
It was 6C. It said homeowner can access the property. Decided the cost would fall on the homeowner, and he would have to come before the planning commission first for approval.
Yes, it still applies.
That is the private property owner wanting the norm policy of almost all municipalities is you have that reserve for public use, says private properties. It does not guarantee that the county or the county will actually build that access. If the town has an entry for some town purpose, then the town would consider paying for it. But if the sole benefit is for the landowner, then the landowner will normally pay for the construction. He doesn't understand that. He thinks just because he pays taxes, the town's gonna build a street for him.
And I think this falls under the same thing as when the board was talking about the Mount Dewey Trail, because I said, you know, if we don't want to put this trail here, then Mount Falls Association can then pay the extent and do that, right? It's the same thing here.
Yes,
Issue in this It's talking about the easements. Do you guys read that?
One easement.
Down El Paso, above, what's his, John Travis. This is supposed to be a match easement.
So, I have a question. Why can't they access this from El Paso? Because their street borders their land borders a very long stretch of El Paso. So it seems like they could access their land from El Paso without any of this trouble.
You'd think so. There is no public street. It's not a public street.
Okay.
It was just bulldozed, and the property owner who obtained that land from the railroad decided mutually agreed to allow each to use their property.
Yep.
So there's a public street.
It's a trail, El Paso Trail.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No problem.
Little
Okay.
trail.
So that automatically had to use that.
But as neighbors, we can't, I
You
can't,
live,
I live in a.
oh, well, you know.
You know, I can't, Donna down the road, I can't say, no, I'm stopping, you're not coming here anymore.
Right.
You're not right, it's just, it's a long, there's a long
You get
history
the
of.
right to cross from
Yes.
adverse possession.
It's-
If the landowner doesn't
Right,
post it,
yeah.
and you acquire a right to
Yeah.
cross.
And I don't know if this applies in.
But he is not a private.
But
Yeah.
does that give him the right to use it?
And if it's an easement,
The private landowner
He
says
has
he wants to
okay.
cross their lane.
So, but
Yeah.
easements are typically recorded with these.
I tell you, there is no easement. What told the place is, you can't, you to go to your property here. I live on this street, it's 30 feet below, and he used the magic word easement apparently. He had you to access it. It's not Mr. Travis. Mr. Travis can't prevent.
Right, but
No
Mr.
legal.
Travis is off of El Paso.
No, he's on Grandview.
He's on Grandview.
Yeah.
He's kind of on both, because he
He's
goes
sort of
up,
behind
he goes up,
Southern
he goes up.
He's,
And he goes up, yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Travis's driveway is off, you'd pass that. But above his property, 30 feet higher, is, so he has the right to use to his property without getting on Travis's property. Sure. So he has access there.
why does he say he can't use that?
Let me tell you, look at the topography, it's steep, it's
Very
super steep.
Difficult to do.
Exactly. Whereas East Myrtle is relatively easier.
Yeah.
There's still a steep section there would require 20-25 grade, but it is doable engineering for him to put at least a driveway in East Myrtle to get to his property. So that's the obvious choice for him. Trying to get us to extend East Myrtle. He's already
This is
ruled
the
out.
path of least resistance to get
Right.
to a developable pad
Right.
on this property.
So what about this, what about the third thing, the 500 square foot line as a whole?
We would,
Is it a permitted use? Or alive?
We got to apply for the historical society.
So, Mr. Lescue learned our trail for Dewey Mountain. An opportunity to hitchhike on that, free. So, whatever he decides will not affect our trail.
driveway, so driveway through there, people will still be able to walk on to go up the trail.
He has an option that the town would have to approve. He could ask the town to approve a 10-foot wide driveway, for example, just 40 feet wide. Or he could pay to put in a full-blown 22-foot in there.
which if it's to code, the town would need to maintain.
That's the key.
Well,
If
just
he puts in a driveway, the town doesn't have to plow it or maintain. If he puts in a street to standard specifications, the town has the option to not maintain it. But normally they will if you build a standard. Most municipalities, counties. If you build a standard, they will plow.
Who's taking minutes? Okay, once we get those approved, I can email them or Mary can email back to him that, we did address his concerns back in October 14th.
Do you want me to email him now?
No, I would wait.
Couldn't we just send him those minutes? Or did he already get those minutes?
I don't know.
I mean,
I'm suggesting that a complete package would be better than 2 halves.
Okay.
Sent separately.
okay, so action item that I need to do other than sending him an email. You want, so basically 2 sets of minutes tonight and then and
But I guess, so do we have consensus of what we're gonna
I
say?
think we had said that if he wants
If
to
he wants
develop the Myrtle Street right of property from the west, he would do so at his expense.
Wait, I mean, it can do the same thing.
Yes.
It says, here's in 14, it says, the cost would fall on the homeowner, and he would have to come before the planning commission first for approval of justice.
That's
So are
absolutely
we
correct.
saying,
We don't know, we don't know what the situation is. It's gonna put it too late.
We do
I
that.
don't know.
What was that?
Regional building, I don't think they engineered accordingly. So you have to have
an
other
engineer?
engineers.
It would fall under the same thing that the gentleman and couple that wanted to develop the 128, there was 13. I saw, I was running.
Right,
last week.
it's-